Hello, I am Echo Fangray Wolf. This is a Recast TChall video. So, suppose you want to know why I'm dressed up as Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. Because I figure if I make this video in this outfit, maybe the people at Disney might either give me a job or at least be wise enough to listen to reason. I'm going to do my best to limit myself to swearing. I'm sorry, I am a swearer. So I'm going to do everything I can to not be in my feelings and swear on this issue of recasting T'Challa. Alright? First, we're going to give a shout out to my man Theo B. Theo Butler is one of the main people that I know that has been fighting for this recasting of T'Challa. Now, though he may not have been one of the first people to start the movement, he has took to this movement like a bat out of hell. Oops, I swore. Anyway, moving on. And I have been right there behind him. Now, hear this. I am not the biggest T'Challa fan. I am not. But I am still a fan. I understand that. So let me tell you a little story about this week. Over the weekend that just passed, I played two characters. This one, Miguel O'Hara, and that one, Ben Reilly. Now, granted, I was the only Miguel O'Hara and Ben Reilly each time. The last time I suited up, I was the only Ben Reilly. There was no other one. The time before that, someone else beat me to the punch. And the only reason I dressed up was because I lost a bet with my bro, Courtney Monroe. Shout out to Courtney Monroe. So, over the weekend, I had a conversation with a young man named Chris. And I'm going to relive that conversation with you here and pray that you all push this to Marvel. Because this is important, which is why I'm going to do my best to not cuss again, if I can help it. And if I happen to slip, I apologize. So Chris and I got to talking. Alright? We really were sitting down and having this conversation because I asked him, because he had a Black Panther jacket, and it was cool. I mean, it was totally cool. It was something that I could picture T'Challa in, like, if me and T'Challa was suited up right now and going against the bad guys. T'Challa would come out with the best outfit. And my unstable molecules would never rip, which would be great, because I'm fighting next to a king. So, here's how this works. Chris and I was discussing black characters. How many black characters could we name that were black guys who were heroes, who had a decent bank account, but no one is richer than a king? Understand, even Conan became a king. Thor, Rune King Thor, need I say more? Now you have wealthy characters in Marvel, and the side note on that is most of them are not people of color, with the exception of the king. Wakanda forever. So Chris and I started talking about Marvel characters who were black. So, surprisingly, the young man actually knew who Rage was. He knew who Battlestar was. He knew who Luke Cage was. He knew who Falcon was. He knew who Night Thrasher was. He knew Cord. He knew Blade. Let's see, who else did we name? We were both kind of confused on Dark Hawk because we're not sure if he was white or black, but his name is also Chris Powell or Tyrone Powell, so there's two Darkhawks, because I remember Tyrone Powell. So, and then we named Storm and Bishop and War Machine. So you with me so far? That was like 13 black superheroes. So we went down the line. The only one of those guys who actually has money and wealth was T'Challa and Dwayne Taylor. Marvel doesn't have a lot of rich black characters. Understand? And it seems to me that they have a habit of killing off rich black characters. For those who aren't up to speed, Night Thrasher was killed off in the early 2000s, and by Night Thrasher, I do not mean Midnight Fire, his rival who took his girlfriend from him. I do not mean his half brother, whose name I can't even remember myself. But I mean Night Thrasher, as in Dwayne Taylor, who Rage from the Avengers, who was beat up by Hercules for lending the New Warriors the Quinjet so that they could go stop all these warriors that Cord's wife and his daughter's mother, whose name I can't remember, but the daughter name was Silhouette, went to an island to make all of these people sacrifices. Yeah, I'm sure all that was retconned. But anyway, it happened, because I remember it. I have the books downstairs somewhere. Now, Night Thrasher was a millionaire, which when he came out, a millionaire meant nothing. I mean, he's a black millionaire, so that was cool. But there were no other millionaires that were black. I mean, Rhodes made a pretty good paycheck. I mean, he was War Machine. He was Iron Man at one time. And we're going through this discussion, and we're talking about black characters. And then some of the other black characters are street-level thugs. And some are heroes that are street-level, like Luke Cage. But Luke Cage was once a criminal. Rage was a teenage kid that got messed up and would have probably been a criminal. Shadowhawk is a different comic book. But Darkhawk, his story was a little messed up. And for the longest time, I thought Moon Knight was a black guy. But apparently he's not. But when you look at all these black heroes, Bishop's an X-Man, Storm's an X-Man, Bishop's sister Shard is an X-Man. They're black. Roberto da Costa, he's Brazilian. We don't know if he's black or if he's mixed. But his skin tone is brown. So even he went down. And Gideon took over his daddy's company way back in the 90s. Deciding if Roberto was going to leave the New Mutants before it became X-Force. And even Night Thrasher had to battle Gideon. Because Gideon was all about power in the financial and corporate world. But he was a mutant who hurt other mutants. So we had this discussion. And I asked him, how do you feel about the recasting of T'Challa? And at first, before we went through everything I just went through, he said he was good either way. So then I started pointing out a few things. So the only other person who has money, besides the King, was Night Thrasher. Marvel got rid of him within 10 years of his comic book. Granted, he had 2 miniseries, but within 10 years, he was replaced by another black guy, who happened to have stole his girlfriend from him. Then he was replaced by another black guy who magically happened to be his half-brother from another mother. So, you have to think about things like that. Hell, the guy who took them on the island adventure, Cord, also tried to off Dwayne Taylor after revealing that he, the man who raised him, was actually the man who killed his parents. What a twist! So then you talk about Battlestar, who became a member of the Wild Pack, working with Silver Sable back in the 90s. But he was also the Black Captain America, one of 2. Then you have, again, Rage, a 13-year-old kid who was an Avenger. Then you have some other black heroes who are not as highly recognized. And you have Rhodey. Rhodey was probably one of the more popular black heroes because he was Iron Man for at least 2 years in the comic. I'm sure that's been retconned, because he even had a relationship with Pepper Potts, while Tony was womanizing and doing all these other things that he shouldn't have been doing. But, in the end, Tony gets Pepper Potts. However, before all of that, Rhodey did his thing when he was Iron Man, because he had to take over Tony's place for quite a few events because Tony was alkied out. But there really aren't that many black Avengers. There really aren't that many black X-Men. Nobody in the Fantastic Four is black. The Night Stalkers only have one black guy, and that's Blade. How many more teams do I need to find with black superheroes in there? Because they're few and far between. The closest thing to a black Ghost Rider was the brothers, but they're Spanish or Mexican, depending on what region you want to call them. Then you have Miles Morales. Yes, I said it. Miles Morales. The guy you guys voted over top of me to be the best Spider-Man. Because I'm Mexican and Irish. And I don't have a spider sense, so that doesn't make me cool, right? Yeah. Because I drank my serum while everyone else was bit by a spider. Fun fact, Miles was bit by an Alchemax spider in his world. Alchemax is a place that I work in my world. Just thought I'd throw that in there for special effects. Anyway, Miles has an electric punch now. You get the finger, Miles. Just not in this video. Anyway, moving on. So, you've heard my list of heroes that I went through. I really wish I would have wrote this down, but I didn't. Because the main point is, we need to recast T'Challa. So I'm talking to Chris, and I'm explaining to him that all of the black heroes are either killed off, locked up, or ridden off into obscurity. Luke Cage, Power Man. Him and Iron Fist was a tag team back in the 70s and 80s. They were like a salt and pepper duo. But eventually they would go their own way, and you wouldn't hear anything from Iron Fist, period. But you would hear from Luke Cage, because him and Jessica Jones became lovers. And she became a mother of his child during the Civil War, which I think came after the Secret Invasion, or it came before the Secret Invasion. I don't remember, but it really doesn't matter, because all that crap's probably been retconned. Bishop, an X-Man who traveled through time, raised and trained by Wolverine. But I'm sure that's been retconned. Let's see. How many black X-Men can I find? Just Bishop and Storm. And technically, I don't even count Storm as black because she's Egyptian. I remember having that debate in school with some kid who was also an X-Men fan. I said, that doesn't change the fact she's black. He's not black. She's Egyptian. It's like, yeah, but most black people are descendants of Africa. Where is Egyptians? Egypt is in northern Africa. But that doesn't count, right? Because the mummies are alive. Anyhow, moving on. Can I sit down? Of course I can. That superhero landing thing kind of sucks. Plus my toes feel like they just went numb. So, I'm talking to Chris, and I'm asking him, what makes you think that it's okay for them to kill off the king? They already killed off the millionaire, so we don't know what happens to Rage after that. Because again, I haven't picked up a Marvel comic since 2010, because they did that big retcon, and they wiped out all of my favorite mutants, except maybe Evan in the House of M thing. They wiped out a lot of my favorite heroes. You know, we don't know what they did with Rage. And a lot of black superheroes go by the wayside. But Black Panther was the one true staple in black superheroes for Marvel. And yes, he was a part-time Avenger, because he had a whole kingdom that he had to look after. It's not like his kingdom was small. Wakanda was like 3 New Yorks. I'm sure that's been retconned. Point being made, it's something about society that makes people believe that black people destroy black people. Crime of opportunity, victimality of opportunity. If a black man is killed by a black man, it's generally because the black man was in the right place at the wrong time, and the guy who was doing the killing was in the right place at the wrong time. Now, when you weigh the pros and cons, getting rid of the king is the worst mistake that Marvel can make. Recast T'Challa. There is no reason why you can't recast T'Challa. You need to understand the depth of this character and what it means to people of color. Okay? Let me break it down for you. I love Shang-Chi. And Simu Liu got a lot of hate from Chinese in China, but that's only the ones in China. The Chinese Americans, they cheered for Simu Liu and Shang-Chi. I cheered for Simu Liu and Shang-Chi. And I'm not Chinese. I'm part native. So I asked Chris, he liked Shang-Chi. He liked Shang-Chi. And he liked the Black Panther. T'Challa's story is not over. It was only beginning. And you guys want to end him. But that's the worst idea you've had. Clearly you guys don't want to make the money that you can make by letting T'Challa's story continue. You would probably make a lot more money with him alive and injured versus dead and replaced. Now, if you recast T'Challa, you have a whole spectrum of things that you can do. My man Theo B talked about the Doom Wars and how T'Challa got severely injured and his face got messed up. So do that. Let the king get injured, suffer some severe burns, and is out of commission for this movie. And bring his ass back in the third movie as a new actor. And you can do it in cutscenes, like you've done before in those one-offs with Coulson. You know, Coulson, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., best TV show ever. That shit never have went off so that I could get a job on there. Anyway, moving on. How can you sleep at night knowing that every character that I named that is of color has no place in the MCU because some of bad writing? I get it that Chadwick Boseman was iconic. I'm an actor too, and I would love to be iconic if you give me a job. But here's the thing. I can't be iconic if no one else plays the role. If no one else does it better than me. You know the song from the James Bond movies? Come on. Do I have to sing it for you? I will. Nobody does it better. Oh, how I wish someone could. Nobody does it half as good as you. Oh, baby, you're the best. Okay, your ears just started bleeding. Anyway, moving on. Yes, Chadwick Boseman opened up the door. He exposed the world to the greatness of being a person of color. That we could be kings. That, yes, slavery happened. Yes, Africa happened. However, what if there was one true king that fought for his people, to make sure his people didn't have any wants or any needs? When you look at Wakanda, you don't see poor people. You've seen the king walk safely through the streets of Wakanda and help his people while carrying on a conversation with his love interest. That is a reality that people of color want to achieve. And since we can't do it in the real world, due to many indiscretions and our inability to get along with everyone, the least we can do is have it in the MCU. There is no reason that we cannot have our king. We need our king. And hell, look at the money the first one brought in. If you want that turnout again, you need to recast T'Challa. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. There are plenty of young black actors that can do this role. Now, will they be as good as Chadwick? Maybe, maybe not. But the only way to find out is to give them a job. I don't want that job. I'm too short. I want this job. So hook me up with Sony, and let's enter the Spider-Verse. Now, I want to say this before I leave. You guys have over 65,000 people that have signed this petition. When I find it, I will be filling it out too. The point being made is that the people are speaking to you, and you are not listening. So get your head out of your rear and pick up the petition. Read the thousands and thousands of reasons why you should recast T'Challa. An off-screen death does not honor anyone, and I'm sorry for belching in your face. An off-screen death is very bad. But why should it be a death? Why not just let it be an active action that puts our king in the hospital or a coma? Wakanda is a paradise that we need. It is a paradise that is necessary, and it necessarily needs a leader. It needs King T'Challa. I was explaining to Chris that if you look at the list of Marvel heroes of color, the list is far and few between, and it's even worse for natives. I'm part native and I'm part black, so I need to explain myself. Miguel O'Hara is part Mexican, which makes him part native. Miles Morales is part Latinx, which also makes him part native. However, the world's gonna flip on their butts when they hear that. But if you just pick up a book, you might actually be able to read something about Latinx people as well as Mexican people, because Mexicans are Native American. Latinx, if he's from Puerto Rico, Puerto Ricans are some of the first natives that Christopher Columbus, well, we don't want to talk about Columbus and that whole CF. But that being said, you have to understand, how many native heroes can you pick out on the X-Men? 3, 4, 4. I'll name them for you. Thunderbird, he died. Warpath, Danielle Moonstar, and Forge. Scalp Hunter's a bad guy. Puma is a bad guy. Red Wolf is questionable. And then you have American Eagle. And you have Wyatt Wingfoot and the Apache Kid. Did I mention Forge already? See how many native characters I've come up with? Now if you go Scalp Hunter and Red Wolf and other guys like Puma who are questionable, now that's not good. And what about Asians on the X-Men team? You've had 2. Now you have 1 again. And those 2 being Psylocke and Jubilee. And now Jubilee's the only Chinese girl on the team, because Psylocke has been reverted back into her European body the last time I checked, which is another reason why I stopped reading the books. Now, I'm nobody special, but I'm not by myself. Tons, thousands, almost up to 1 million people want this character recast. We need this character recast, because T'Challa's story is not done. It needs to be told. It needs to be finished. His story arc can be, let's wound him in Wakanda forever and bring him back in Black Panther 3 Results, or whatever you guys are going to title it. That being said, I am Echo Fan Grey Wolf. I do not want to get into my feelings and keep going, but by the end of the conversation for the weekend, Chris kind of agreed with me. The king should not be killed because the black people need a hero. And what is better than a king? A king that is not only a hero, but a legend. And we need that. We need that because young children of color, specifically young black children, have no dreams. This is what they dream of. 3, 4, 2, 1, hike! They don't dream of being a hero. They don't dream of being a king. They dream of being followers. Let's go to the NBA. Let's go to the NFL. Let's not set big dreams. Let's just have hoop dreams and football dreams. And maybe, if we are blessed enough with the right talent, our dreams can come true. But what about the young children of color who are dreamers, like me, who one day dreams to be this superhero right here, or that superhero behind me, Ben Riley? Why can't we dream of being King T'Challa? Wakanda forever is more than just a motto. It is more than just a saying. It has meaning behind these words. How many times have you walked down the street and seen a child who wants to be the Black Panther, and they're playing outside, and they say, let's play Marvel Universe the same way they used to play Power Rangers back in my day. Wakanda forever. Wakanda forever. You even have white kids wanting to be T'Challa. You should take that into consideration. Wakanda forever. Recast TChall. Enough said, true believers. Excelsior. Those are words from Stan Lee. You should Google them.